Since the inception of One Piece, the most hyped up ability that was foreshadowed in Chapter 1 itself was King's Haki, or as many like to call it, Conqueror's Haki. Thousands of people got hooked to the series by seeing our favorite red-haired person, Shanks, stop a vicious seeking right in its tracks by a simple glare. That display of pure primordial dominance was the moment many realized that they were witnessing the birth of something great and something beautiful. During Luffy's whole journey, we were teased again and again as to what this enigmatic ability was. Powerful pirates and high-ranking officers alike were shocked at the sight of anyone possessing such a trait, as if they had seen the face of the devil itself. Even the born supreme kings like Sengoku the Buddha were terrified to witness the birth of their brethren, realizing what these individuals would be capable of and how their pursuit of their dreams would distort the future of the world itself. After witnessing Monkey D. Luffy knock out thousands of people through his sheer will during his journey, it was after 20 years that we got to see this ability in full action, when our favorite Kaizoku realized what he had been fighting against and used that power to viciously uppercut Mr. Vorororo in the face. But as the fight progressed, we alongside Luffy realized that that wasn't the full extent of this enigmatic ability, as it is only through intense practice and experience that skill develops, and that effort itself transforms something quite ordinary into something exceptional and makes a person grand enough to stand above others as a true supreme king. But who exactly qualifies to become the supreme king? It is said that this haki is proof that the person in question has the characteristics of a king. But has the story treated its characters fairly as to who gets to become a king? So let's talk and find out. During the introduction of this power, the Dark King is pretty blunt in informing that this ability is not something that is achieved, but something that you are born with. The exalted ones that are born with this ability have every quality needed to become a king, but it isn't necessary that they might actually accomplish that. Ever since Luffy began his dive into the strange and powerful new world, the average strength of a pirate began to steadily rise along with the number of people who had King's Haki. One beautiful example of how Oda tells us that anybody can have King's Haki is through the Dressrosa arc. In this arc, we are properly introduced to Don Quixote Doflamingo, the Heavenly Demon, a strong celestial dragon who retains the title of Warlord of the Sea and is the biggest broker in the underworld, along with being the king of the island country Dressrosa. Now this is the kind of a character you would expect to be a king. Strong, charismatic, passionate, already in a leadership role. A character that was written and groomed to have a strong and imposing will. At the same time, we find Don Chinchao in the Corridor Coliseum. He is not someone that really stands out when compared to the characters like Roger, Whitebeard, Doflamingo or Hancock. But during his fight with Luffy, he is shown to possess the same demonic ability that all people seem to be terrified of. In this way, how Oda shows that anyone in the New World could be a supreme king, as each one of them came with the intent of conquering the sea, is extremely wonderful to read. But has this trend continued? Till Dressrosa, Oda Sensei has introduced us to many supreme kings that do not follow any pattern. This category includes Shanks, Rayleigh, Sengoku, Boa Hancock, Doflamingo, Don Chinchao, and many others. But after this arc, we begin to notice a pattern of hereditary nature in King's Haki users. We already know that Goldie Roger, the king of the pirates, had King's Haki, and that trait was passed to his biological son Ace as well. In the Whole Cake Island arc, we get to meet the most prominent of Big Mom's children, that is Charlotte Katakuri, the Billionberry pirate, who is also a supreme king just like his mother. And now in Wano, we get to meet Kaido's so-called son Yamato, and we get hints in chapter 1016 that she might be possessing King's Haki as well. If you allow further speculation, then Monkey D. Garp can be assumed to possess this haki as well, as he is said to have fought toe-to-toe with the likes of Gold Roger and Whitebeard without having any devil fruit, so it is very likely that he has Conqueror's haki as well. Now this might develop another Supreme King lineage, that is, Garp, Dragon and now Luffy. Even if Dragon doesn't have Conqueror's haki, there's still the passing of this trait from grandfather to grandson. So when you see these patterns, you might wonder if getting Conqueror's Haki actually depends on genetics. So what's the answer? Well, if Oda gives us a lot of hereditary conquerors, then we also get some non-hereditary ones, like Roronoa Zoro in chapter 1010 and Eustace Kid in chapter 984. Another thing that answers this question quite easily is the nature of Big Mom's family itself. Big Mom has 85 children, and out of those 85 people, only Charlotte Katakuri has shown the qualities of a king yet. If it were purely genetic, then I'm sure we would get more Charlotte Conquerors in Whole Cake Island arc. But still, I do not like the idea that every Yonko has a son that possesses King Saki, and if Yamato actually ends up getting Conqueror Saki and gets to join the crew, then there would be some serious power ranking issues, especially between these two. There's already a lot of fiery debates in the Sanji vs Zoro matters, and I don't think that a Conqueror Saki Yamato is gonna help too much in this whole debate. Please let me know what you think about this Yamato and King Saki situation in the comments down below. I absolutely love viewers who comment and interact, and I will reply as soon as possible. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.